When you're a channel that specializes in co-op games, there are genres that we end up playing a lot of. Survival titles, roguelikes, shooters, they're a dime a dozen. But Metroidvanias? Now that's a genre we rarely see. So when Gabe and I heard about Anima Flux, we added it to our watch list, hoping it could add variety to our long list of titles we suggest for you and your best friends. But I have to say, after finishing the short 6-hour experience, I can't quite do that. It does some things well, innovates on what could and should make a good co-op Metroidvania, but for us at least it fell short. Of course, you could just leave now knowing that, but we both know there's more to the conversation. Reviews often require nuance, so let's get into whether or not Anima Flux is for you and your best friend, even if it wasn't for me and mine.
I'm down.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, fuck. Just shoot. Shoot him! Okay,
let's go.
We did it. Holy crap, that was so hard.
That was crazy. I started doing a lot more aerial shots that helped.
Anima Flux has 2-player local co-op and is currently only available on Steam. That means you could also play this via remote play, which is what we did, but remember your mileage will vary on the quality of your remote play experience. That just comes down to your personal internet speeds. Ours mostly works out, but not everyone's does. But since this is designed as a local co-op game, the ease of play section is pretty simple. You can play the whole experience together, you just choose which character to play as in the menu and go from there. Both players have pretty equal agency. The first player makes decisions on things like your upgrade purchases, but that's a pretty small part of the experience. We never had any bugs while playing either, so overall the devs behind this did a solid job at making this easy to play together.
Okay,
here it comes. Oh, did you see that?
Dude, that was awesome.
Hell yeah, dude, I timed that so well.
That was awesome.
Before I get into my opinions on the game, I do want to break down the overall gameplay experience. It'll be tempting to get into my thoughts, but I'll hold off for just a bit longer. So obviously this is a Metroidvania, that was made clear at the top. The setup for the story is a futuristic dystopia where you play as 2 agents working for a large corporation that happens to let loose a giant mutant bug-like invasion on the city. You know, future dystopian stuff. One player gets to play as Eileen, a bow-wielding agent who plays the "I'm a soldier, I follow orders" persona, while the other plays as Roy, a saber-swinging rough-and-tumble ex-agent who's rejoined the fight despite a disdain for Eileen's precious orders. Tension ensues, but they work together despite their differing views. The gameplay loop is a pretty standard Metroidvania affair. Go to a new area, get past a combination of combat arenas, light puzzling or platforming, face a boss, get a new ability, head to the next area. There's also a hub where you're going to find upgrades and side quests to help pad out the experience. Like I said before, it's pretty short. Expect to be done somewhere between the 5 and 6 hour mark. With that all out of the way though, let's get into what worked from the co-op experience.
Enjoy your little screen, bro.
An issue that many co-op Metroidvanias struggle with is the camera. Most titles in this genre choose to go the local co-op route, which means sticking to one screen. One of my favorite cooperative Metroidvanias of last year actually was Disney Illusion Island, in part because of how they dealt with the screen real estate issue. When you hit a platforming challenge in that game, the camera would kind of like zoom out and go static so that everyone could see everything that they would need to see. If someone ever got left behind during the exploration portion, they'd just simply be dragged up in like a little Disney letter to the rest of the party. So it was a simple solution, one I know is not exclusive to Illusion Islands, but it works aside from the characters being a bit too small to see sometimes. Well, Anima Flux has its own solution, and while it is equally simple, it's no less impactful and deserves its own praise too. Are you ready for this one? They made a tiny screen. I know, pretty crazy, right? When your co-op partner goes off camera, they simply can keep exploring and doing their thing, just on a smaller screen in the top right corner. And what's even crazier is you, at any point, can switch who the mini screen follows by just touching right on the D-pad. I know, again, truly innovative stuff. Jokes aside, this actually works in practice and is one of those solutions that makes you wonder why this hasn't always been a thing in other games. Maybe I just haven't played enough co-op Metroidvanias in my day, but this is the first time I'm seeing it and allows for more seamless exploration, which is sort of the point of the whole genre. We never really found ourselves spending too much time in the mode either, so it's not meant to be like a long-term exploration solution, but still, it gets the job done. Kudos to the team on this one.
Man, I hope that looks cool because I feel like I was blowing off some really cool stuff.
Meanwhile, me just awkwardly trying to hit that guy. Oh, God.
Unfortunately, that's where my praise for the co-op comes to an end. The biggest issue with this title is the combat. Put simply, playing as Roy is not a good experience. Overall, the combat is clunky, but with Roy, it's just bad. As Roy, you can only swing left and right with a pretty short hitbox, which makes aerial enemies an absolute chore to deal with. Aerial enemies make up probably about half of the mutants you face in the game too, so it's not a small part of the experience. Additionally, the game doesn't give you a dash until about 2 hours in, which is a third of the whole game. Without the dash, you're literally just swinging left or right with a jump to help you get out of the way of enemies. It makes the first couple of hours just a slog to get through. Even with the dash, the combat never evolves into anything special. I'd say at best it just gets to the point of feeling fine. The fact that Eileen is ranged and Roy is close combat never makes too big a difference in the encounters. It just means that Roy has his work cut out for him in hopping around platforms attempting to reach the enemies, whereas Eileen does not. This is a bigger bummer with the boss fights, which have some cool mechanics and present a satisfying challenge. But when the game doesn't feel good to play at a very fundamental level, and Roy especially feels useless in some of these scenarios, it's just kind of hard to look past. The other system that feels completely underutilized in co-op are the upgrades, both the major ones you get after a boss fight and the ones you can purchase. I mean, 2 of the major ones go to your dash and your double jump, both of which just kind of felt like they should have been there from the start. I know they're not always in Metroidvanias, but these felt necessary to make the game feel at least a little bit good. None of the other ones outside of those 2 really change how you play together or really encourage any sort of teamwork. And the minor upgrades you can buy back at the base are just better health refills or faster recharging on your power hits and whatnot. I just think that there could have been more done with that to make the combat more interesting and, most importantly for this game, more cooperative. And I should say that there is some light platforming and some light puzzling, but none of it feels very cooperative. I mean, the puzzles that are here are super simple, and at best, like, one person might stand on a switch while someone else does something else with a switch. There's just not a whole lot to it. Overall, a game that feels like it's built from the ground up, or at least looks like it should be built from the ground up for co-op, ends up not really feeling that way.
Nice.
Puzzles.
Okay, so they didn't nail the co-op, which is obviously a bummer since this is a genre we don't often get to play together. Plus, we both ended up finding the combat and progression to be less than satisfying. What did we like here? Well, the setting and art design are a real standout. If you like that grungy, nasty, really like sticky and yucky and spacey and futury look, then you got it here in spades. From the animated cutscenes to the background of each area, Anima Flux fits all those adjectives I just used, and I listed a lot of adjectives. I can see someone enjoying this experience if for that alone. But that's kind of the reality. I think it would be for that alone, and if they can just sort of tolerate the combat and the exploration. Speaking of which, I haven't even talked about the poor map design, disappointing exploration, lack of enemy diversity. I mean, you're literally facing the same mutants over and over again in every combat scenario. There's just a lot more cons that we felt during our time than pros. This is a small team and it's their first project. I really hope they have another crack at it. There's clearly talent and quality here. It just gets far outweighed by the clunkiness of a first title. That's why, for us at least, Anima Flux was not a co-op game we could recommend. Thanks guys for sticking around for the whole review, even if it was a shorter one. We hope it still helped you decide if Anima Flux was for you and your best friends. If it did, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. This is what we do here at the Co-op Bros. We tell you about the games you can play with your friends. If you want to support us more, consider joining us over on Patreon. We have exclusive benefits for them, like our Play and Banter series, where we talk about games as we play them, as well as our monthly newsletter and much, much more. Either way, we'll catch you next time on another episode of the Co-op Bros.